at what point did you decide to get more serious about the rapping? How does this go?
The rap shit, like, it really came about, I was fucking with some niggas. Like, I had some homeboys and shit back in the day and shit. They rapped and shit. For real. And it was just like always being around, kicking it, you know what I'm saying, in the studio, coming up with ideas and shit, you know what I'm saying? Nigga, like, bro, you need to rap, you feel me? Then one of my homeboys was just adamant about that shit, you know what I'm saying? Then we finally just did that shit. But right when my first time hopping on one of the tapes and shit, like right after we was doing that bitch, I got locked up or whatever. So we locked up, you know, Tay doing this little thing in the city. Come home, it was like the group shit wasn't really, it wasn't really cracking how it was supposed to and shit. Like niggas wasn't really doing shit. So one of my homeboys was still locked up. Nigga I was probably like fucked with the most. Nigga I was close to and shit. And he like, bro, you gotta turn up, bro. You gotta get that shit together and shit. That's how I even first made a fucking solo mixtape. Like, fuck it, I'ma do it and shit.
What year are we talking that you first started actually going for it? Because you got songs with millions and millions of views from like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so like literally around that time.
Okay.
Like literally, that's when it started. Like around that time, like 2016 type shit.
Right.
That's when it was like, okay, I'm about to do this shit.
What'd you get locked up for that time?
Shit, that was some shit in East Lansing, some home invasion type shit.
Oh, okay. And that was just a sort of standard hustle that people had at that time?
No, it was me and a nigga. It's some documented shit, you know what I'm saying? It's me and the nigga I fucked with, you feel me? I don't fuck with no more, whatever. We had gotten into some shit.
He told on you?
No, he ain't telling me. It was some niggas on the case who told. It was a few niggas on the case, like, but no, the one nigga ain't tell. It was a couple other hoe ass niggas who told.
And you got locked up for a little while off that?
Yeah, we was locked up a little minute off that.
Okay. And did you? This was before you even put music videos out and shit like that?
Yeah, this was before I ever had a video or that shit.
Okay, so then you get out and you start dropping the music?
Yeah, I got out, and I remember I was on parole and shit, and they had me on, because I went to boot camp and shit.
Oh.
So I'm on parole and shit, so they put me on house arrest and shit. I'll never forget how the shit even, how I really was like, I'm about to really turn up with the rap shit. I'm going to report and shit. The PO, you know, they be on you about getting them jobs and shit, and I'm on house arrest. So they like, nigga, you don't even be leaving the house if you're, I'll never forget, I'm filling out applications and shit. Got to like the second page. I'm filling out some shit for a factory or some shit. Bro, they just asking questions so wild, so stupid, I just cried, bro. Like, hey, man, I ain't about to go do this shit, bro. Like, I go back to jail or something before I be in this bitch doing any of this shit.
What kind of questions really offended
I think
you?
it was like a tomato factory or some shit. You just go and do some bullshit, like just stand in the code, like package tomatoes or some shit, some tip service type shit.
What the fuck?
I'm like, man, I'm not about to do this shit, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people are just born thinking that they can't do some normal ass shit like that. Like it just, I was the same way, man. It just didn't agree with what my mind thought I was supposed to be doing.
I literally was like, hey, I'll be back in jail before I'll be going to a job doing some craziness.
Yeah.
Like stuff I don't need, like damn, just dealing with tomatoes would have been wild. Like I don't deal with tomatoes.
Right.
On my burger, on my salad.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm just in here fucking with tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's an alarming number of them bitches. I'm straight.
Right. Now that I'm older and a little bit more humble, I kind of look at that and I'm like, well, of course, yeah. Like if you want to make it in life, you need to be willing to like work hard and do some shitty ass job for a long time. At the time, that did not make sense to me. Like I would not have, you know, I was willing to do anything before I fucking sat around and had some motherfucker yelling in my face, telling me how to put the tomatoes in the bag.
Hey, my nigga just walked in. I can get this blunt and shit. I get these blunts.
Yeah, have them handed
I don't
out.
know how this works. Do I walk off camera for this type of shit?
He can bring it on, yeah.
Hey, do you bring that shit, cuz?
What's in that CVS bag?
You feel me?
I like it, man. Okay, so
I was wondering how this shit work.
no, yeah, people bring some drugs over the
blunts.
table.
I think we got some drink in this bitch. Oh, it's a party.
Oh yeah, just don't pour up on camera. They demonetized us for that recently.
Oh, damn, they on that?
Desto Dub, they got him, man. He poured up in a fucking soda on here, and they just took the money away.
Oh man, we can't have that happening too.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I mean, if you pour it up, it's not like YouTube's gonna know the soda's 3 shades too dark.
See a lighter. This bitch like you got an open ass on it. Shut on this bitch.
Okay, so you're having a hard time doing the whole job thing. So what do you decide to do at that point?
Man, just lock in with the rap and find a new crime.
Right.
That's what time it was. Like, oh, we got to try something different.
We can't rob houses
And
anymore.
and
What are we
it's
gonna do
kinda
instead?
real, like, no, we can't rob houses. Ain't no selling no dope right now. You know, and then scamming fell into my lap.
Really?
Yeah. I had some homeboys who scammed and shit. Did some swiping, was going crazy and shit.
Right.
I went and fucked with them boys. I turned up off that shit. Really, I put all that shit back into like my music and shit.
Really?
I went to jail for that too, y'all, so I'm not incriminating myself. I went to jail for all this shit.
How long would you say that you were gone before you got caught up with the scamming shit?
Man, that was a short, very progressive run though. I say probably about a 5-6 month run before that shit came crashing down on me and I was back in jail.
Wow.
But I had a PO that really, really fucked with me. It was so crazy. My PO, what I at first was really working on my tape. She seen I wouldn't get no job and shit, but she was just cool people. And like I'm telling her, like I'm doing this rap shit, like I'm staying out of trouble, whatever.
Right.
Of course, that was cap. I'm all going out of town, all type of shit. I ain't even supposed to be leaving. I'm down there living in another state. I'm just coming back to report.
Right.
But when I caught the case, I ended up getting probation. I caught a little swiping case with her. They gave me probation. I'm still on parole. And I was supposed to go back to prison. But she, like the whole time I'm locked up, she telling me like, hey, this shit crazy. Like, your music actually taking off. Like my son and shit listen to you and shit.
Really?
Like shit, like him and his friends, all that shit. So when it came time, they had recommended I go back to prison. And she down there put her job on the line for real. She like, I want you to come home.
Wow.
And she like, don't fuck this up.
Imagine how crazy that must be to be a parole officer, just bragging to your kids about how you got a cool rapper as your client.
Yeah, like she could really say like she was Trill, she 100. Miss Fletcher, Sabrina Fletcher, she was 100. She is 100. That's my baby.
Right. So that's what the lifestyle was when you were doing the scamming shit. You just be taking these trips out of town and
Living out of town.
Because Detroit's too hot, right?
Man, Detroit was blew the fuck out.
Yeah, I figured that's probably blown out as soon as that shit came
Detroit,
around.
as soon as something start, is on. A week later,
Right.
Like they damn near changing the law once Detroit get a hold of some shit. Like, oh, you getting 10 more years for this. These niggas is going too crazy.
That's why I'm surprised hearing you say you only did a year and a half, because don't they give out crazy ass numbers for swiping now?
No, I ain't get the year and a half for the swiping. I did the year and a half for the home invasion shit.
Oh, okay.
The swiping
right.
shit, I was sitting in that bitch for like a few months just going to court on that shit. Look, my first judge was a hoe. The nigga, Judge Groner. Can I say Judge Groner a hoe on here? Y'all ain't gonna get in trouble. Yeah, Judge Groner a hoe.
Yeah, he a bitch.
Yeah, he a hoe. The nigga wild. I think he the nigga, he had just cooked Kwame. And we had went in front of that nigga.
Define cooked Kwame.
Kwame killed Patrick, he cooked his ass. Like,
Okay.
hey, you about to go to prison for a long time, Kwame. And he was happy to cook his ass. So
Wow.
we getting Groner courtroom. I'm already devastated. Soon as I see, like, oh, we going to see Dog. I get in that bitch, he instantly tell me, like, hey, you're going back to prison. I'm like, hey, man. But, like, up there in Wayne County, you can do this shit called, like, a blind draw. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you can still do it, but, like, you get one chance to get out of a judge courtroom, and you go end up in another judge courtroom. Now, the trick is, you don't know who the other judge gonna be.
So you might get a worse one.
No, I already had the most bitch-ass nigga, so I'm like, just get me out of here.
Right.
I'm like, if worse comes to worse, if whoever I get do what that he was gonna do, it was meant. But I'm like, I ain't trying to fuck with him.
Right.
But I ended up getting the judge that gave me like 90 days in probation.
Wow. That's crazy. I feel like going to court should not be like playing the lottery, but you just made it
Man,
sound
what?
like it's fucking basically like spinning the wheel.
I had to get out of Groner courtroom. He looked me in my eyes and was like, hey, you going back to prison. Like, we don't need to do, all we need to talk about is how long you going back to prison. I'm like, man, get me out of here.
Wow. That's bananas.
My niggas in the D know about Groner.
Fuck Groner. Anyway.
Fuck the fuck out of Groner.
So that didn't go well. Now all of a sudden you're back out just doing the music thing, or how'd you get refocused after that?
Now, at this point, I come home, you know, my little first mixtape, Get It Back, Go Home, and drop. I got a couple bands put up.
Right.
You feel me? Music doing good. My cameraman at the time, he had just like, he's a nigga, he was out in the city, you know, he a popping nigga, you know, he was moving around and shit. He like, hey, I know the next ones we need to shoot. Cause the whole thing was how it actually worked for me. The whole time I'm swiping, I'm literally putting down there everything that I'm spending back into the music, you feel me? Like literally everything I'm spending, like So I'm putting my cheese up. You know, I had money for a lawyer. My little time in jail was actually cool this time. I'm in there riding the farm, eating snacks. You know, I'm having a ball in that bitch. I'm just trying to not go back to prison.
Why is it different this time? Because people know who you are and they're fucking with you more?
No, because I had some real pape.
Okay.
Jail be,
It's gotta
look,
help
bro.
too. It's just like real life.
Yeah, like jail, bro. Really, what niggas don't know, the funniest, most talented motherfuckers in jail. You could do a cool little bit if you got some paper for real.
Right.
Not having that paper in jail just feel like you dying in that bitch. You know, I done see both sides. I done been indigent in that bitch, and I done been a nigga on the phone all day in that bitch. So I know how I feel.
I don't know if anybody ever used that word on the podcast
But
before.
indigent.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
that's
that's
a strong
like,
word. I like
that's
that.
like the that's fucked up. Like that's fucked up. Like you
That's
in that.
bad.
Like look.
That's broke,
Hey,
bro.
being indigent is like jail welfare. Like, damn, bro. Like, all right, fuck it, we got you, bro. Like, we gonna give you some toothpaste or like you ain't got shit. Like, for real.
Wow.
When you indigent, like that's why I like even when I went that time when I did have my shit together and I'm really in that bitch. Now I'm like, nigga, I'm like the indigent niggas. I'm like, hey, I was you before.
Okay, guys, we want to thank you so much for getting us to 100,000 subscribers right here on the Clips channel. If you want to support, please click that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 200K. Thank you. Thank you so much.